Welcome back for another episode of the Sarasota County Schools In Tune podcast. I'm Chris Parento, the District Supervisor of Government Affairs, and your host for today's episode. On this episode, I am thrilled to be joined by Mrs. Jamie Hannon, the newly appointed principal of the soon-to-open K-8 at Lorain and Clark, and Dr. Brandon Johnson, our district's chief of middle schools. Thank you both so much for being here for this conversation today. Jamie, first off, congratulations on being the first principal at this new school. Talk a little bit about what that means to you to be the first principal at this new school and what the previous couple weeks have been like and what the next few months look like for you opening this school.
Well, thank you, Chris. I am a proud graduate of this community and have been with Sarasota County Schools my entire career. So being asked to take the first new school that's opening in 15 years, is such an honor. And I'm just really looking forward to being able to create a community here and get the community involved with what this school looks like and turns out to be. So it's very exciting.
As you come in here every day and you see the construction day by day, how exciting is that for you to see where it was, where it is, and where it's going?
Well, the last couple weeks have definitely been a learning curve. I'm trying to catch up with my construction staff and see the history behind why decisions were made in terms of design elements and classroom structures. And it's, really out of my skill set, the construction world. So just getting in and getting to be part of that team and bringing a new perspective as an educator to the construction team has been an interesting process, and I continue to learn and grow in that area every day.
Brandon, from your perspective, what does it mean to be able to bring a school and a facility like this into the district?
When it was first thought up, I think it was over 2 years ago, to be honest. And the most interesting part right away for me was actually the K-8 idea. We had only one, and so that was kind of the first piece that we discussed. Once that happened, I was 100% on board with being able to take that lead, the opportunity to work with the construction team and actually be able to select a principal. I guess the more interesting part is, and Jamie said it, it's been like 15 years since we've actually had a new school in this district. So the process that comes along with it and everything else that we'll talk about later were the parts that I think right away were not only interesting, but exciting, right? To really get the community involved with everything that's part of this process. But in addition to that, Chris, now actually seeing it and actually come to fruition and knowing in August 2025 we'll actually have a new school, I'm just excited and can't wait.
This is going to be the state-of-the-art facility to bring students, staff, and families into. How exciting is that?
That's thrilling. I actually, coming from Southside, was just one of the oldest buildings in the county, and now being able to come into a building that's set up for technology of tomorrow, being able to offer programs that will meet every student's need, K through 8, from day one, is absolutely exciting. I can't describe it any other way. Just looking at the plans and then walking through the building, that some of it is framed out already, some of it is just still the concrete walls, and being able to see what it will look like in a year from now is overwhelming sometimes.
I'll even add, something as simple as the cafeteria. You don't realize when state-of-the-art buildings and you start doing things from scratch, all the different things that you realize should be in place for our schools, for accessibility and sight lines and just being able, the ease of use are happening in this building. And each time that I have the opportunity to walk with Mrs. Hannon, I'm getting to see those updates. Just like yesterday with the sight line, she can stand as a principal in one spot downstairs and they be able to see every single angle of where kids come in. That's just something that we normally don't have because we don't necessarily think through from the beginning. So it seems like a small deal, Chris. It's a huge deal when you are starting from scratch. But last but certainly not least, you talked about programming, from the robotics, the room that these kids are going to have available to them is unbelievable. For example, they'll be able to walk around campus and actually look through this window and watch everything take place. We just don't have that because that wasn't a thought process, let's say 20 years ago, whatever the last building was built. So it's incredibly exciting.
You both just hit on programming and the importance of that. And you mentioned robotics, but can you talk about some of the other program offerings this school will have once it opens?
So, and I'll let Jamie jump in, but let me start with this. I think it's incredibly important for people to understand when you do have a K through 8, Chris, there's a certain amount of elementary students that you want to have on campus, but also a certain amount of middle school kids. Why? Because of programming. And so when people ask about not only after school activities, but everything that you see in middle school, right, from golf to basketball, whatever the case may be, we have built this so that we made sure we had enough middle school kids so that parents will have that as well. So any comprehensive middle school, you will also have the same thing with K-8, but also with elementary. We've put enough kids here so that any from not just the STEAM program that we are going to have that I'll let her talk about, and any advanced programmings that we may have, we have enough kids here to be able to give them those opportunities. But specific programming, I'm going to let Ms. Hannon, because I don't want to steal her thunder, talk about her ideas and where we're coming next and with the support of the community.
I mean, obviously, anytime we're talking about programming, it's what is best for kids. And so once we solidify what students will be here, we will look at the needs of those students and make some determinations about programmings that we will offer. You know, historically at our elementary schools, we really do look at can we advance students as much as possible? That will be a program that we will talk about again once we know what students will be here. The thing that's nice about the K-8 model is that, yes, we will have these STEM programs available for middle school students, but our K-8 or K-5 students will be exposed to those. And so that's one of the most exciting things about having all those students in one building. We are also looking to do some partnerships with the new Moat Marine that will be out here by UTC Mall. And so that's something we're still working through, but something that's a priority for us.
I was going to say, and in addition, you said sometimes course offerings that you are able to get just because you also have middle school, foreign languages. There are things that sometimes elementary students we just don't have the capacity. But when you have a K-8 and you have it already here, Mrs. Hannon, with the work of her team, will be able to schedule so that elementary kids get access to that as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the process right now of naming and colors and mascots and all of that. I know that is a lengthy process that takes time, but can you talk a little bit about how that works?
So I'll talk specifically about school name because that's something we're working through right now. In terms of construction lingo, this site has been referred to as the K-8 at Lorraine and Clark. That's how it is on all of our construction documents. And so until we get together a work group of community members and community people that have a vested interest in this school, we don't have a name actually. So we are working through that. I've actually met with a group recently and we are making some proposals for school name, and that will go again to Dr. Johnson, and then it goes to the school board for final approval. So we are working through that now.
And so the other side of that process that most people are well aware of would be things that we have going on, right? Boundary advisor committees and things of that nature. We are fortunate that a lot of this started, Chris, approximately maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. And within that process, whether it be naming, boundary advisor committees, and any other, support we may need from the community, we do select people from schools that are impacted. That would be Lakeview, Ashton, and Sarasota Middle. And so within that, just like the process she's using for naming the school logo and everything else, we always have people who are impacted by it that are part of this process. Right now, over the summer, we are still working through that. And as we come back in August, sir, we will start that back up again just to give people a break. And then we'll continue through with that process all the way up through November. So the positive right now is anything that's happened prior, it's already on our website. People have the opportunity to go take a look, but we will resume anything we're going within this project starting in August, hopefully getting things done, hopefully by November.
So August 2025, we open. Can you talk a little bit about the staggered opening of opening K-6 the first year, and then K-7, and then K-8?
Yeah, so the reason for that really for us is working through kind of that first grade level of fifth graders transitioning to sixth grade, and hopefully not pulling students who are already in middle school out of seventh and eighth. And so having that staggered opening gives us the opportunity to, of course, move kids from pre-K through fifth, and then those kids who have just finished this upcoming school year into their new school, starting off as that first middle school class. And if you think about the process, that means it rolls over. Those sixth graders become seventh graders, right? So on and so forth. That's the reason also for the staggering. It's just making sure, let's be fair, that we also take care of families, sir. That's first and foremost, and then taking care of students. And so doing that gives kids who are already in a middle school an opportunity to stay there, but also us being able to put kids in a new school that needs to have babies here, as we open up.
Well, and I think it also gives us the opportunity to create that community with those students. Placing a student at a brand new school in eighth grade is really hard to feel that sense of community belonging. So getting those kids here in sixth grade and they get to stay with us for 3 years and be the leaders and the first graduates of a new campus is really exciting.
Can you talk about what it might feel like for you in August of 2025 when you get to welcome those students to this campus for the very first time?
I mean, that will be the fruition of all of our hard work, right? So the goal is, to obviously safety is the number one priority on day one. And so any decision that I'm making now is related to that. And then, getting my teachers clear expectations and making sure we're welcoming all those kiddos into the community that we want to establish, and how exciting that we get to say who we are and why we're here and welcome all those families in to be part of that. And they'll be part of that decision making along the way.
I will say this, ask her that again
Yes.
In 6 months when you've been going through this process and seeing it being built. Yes. And then all of a sudden when you're standing in front of this school and the first bus or kids are pulling up and all the paint is dried, everything is where it needs to be. I guarantee she's going to have the biggest smile on her face, just like she has right now. And then probably the second piece is, it's finally here, yes. Right? Just that deep breath that they're finally here.
I think any principal in August feels that way. You plan and plan and plan over the summer. I just have a longer planning period. And then when the first day gets here, you're like, all right, now the real work starts, right? That's why we're here. And that's why we are running a school, is to serve our students and our community. So we're excited.
Jamie, Brandon, thank you both so much for being here and providing this valuable insight to our families and our community. And for those of you who want more information about the Boundary Advisory Committee process, any public information meetings that we'll be having, or even to provide feedback and see the timeline for what the next few months will look like as we get ready as a district to open this brand new school, you can go to our website, sarasotacountyschools.net. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you join us for the next episode of the Sarasota County Schools In Tune podcast.